Okay, so the basic information. So the Korean War started in 1950. Like the Democratic People's Republic of North Korea and the Republic of the South Korea, in which at least 2.5 million people lost their lives. The war was reached international proportions in June 1950 when North Korea, supplied and advised by the Soviet Union, invaded the South. The United States with the United Nations with the United States as the principal participant joined the war on the side of the South Koreans. And the People's Republic of China came to North Korea's aid. After more than 1 million combat casualties had been suffered on both sides, the fighting ended in July 1953, with Korea still divided into two hostile states. Negotiations in 1954 produced no further agreements, and the front line has been accepted ever since as the de facto boundary between North Korea and South Korea.
Why is this here?
Just,
Okay, there's like, just like, it's not even in the right order.
just see the slide. When the war began, 1950.
Okay,
What is that?
Okay, skip those 3 slides.
Huh?
How
Skip this
unprofessional.
3 slides.
Alright, so call this after World War II, an agreement was made between the Allied forces and the Soviet forces. The country was divided along the 30th parallel by the American administrators. The northern part of the country was occupied by Soviet troops and the southern part was occupied by troops from the United States. This caused much tension between the two countries, particularly as the Cold War intensified and allegiances were drawn.
Okay, so war leaders. The Chinese leader was Peng Deai, and Soviet Union leader was Joseph Stalin. South Korean leader was Syngman Rhee. North Korean was Cho Yong-gon. United Kingdom leader was the Clement Attlee. United States leader was Mark W. Clark. So a little bit about the North Korean leader was that he was the supreme commander of the Korean People's Army, and from 1948 to 1950, North Korea defense minister from 1940. Okay, so and the chairman of the president of the Supreme People's Assembly of North Korea from 1957 to 1972.
Okay, so the political leaders, there's Harry Truman, Syngman Rhee, Pak Hong-yong, Peng Deai, George Marshall, Mo, something like that, Yadong, and Park Chung-hee. So Harry Truman, he was the 33rd president of the United States. He was the vice president, but President Franklin Roosevelt died, and then he became the president. He was a president from April 12th to 1945 to January 20th, 1953. On June 27, 1950, Truman announced that he is ordering U.S. air and naval forces to South Korea to aid the democratic nation.
Okay. So, this is the fame for all the, for 4 of them. For the South Korean citizens, they'd be like confused, scared, and wondering what's going to happen, since they don't know what's going to happen to them during the war after. They would be scared for their own country and their sake. They would be angry, maybe, for like the U.S. or whoever caused it, and they would mourn like the loss of people who died or close to them. for the U.S., they try to be like tactical and smart. They also be aggressive toward North Koreans. They would probably be frustrated at communism since China joined the war midway through, and they would be determined. Okay, for the UN soldiers, they might be scared again since they might die or get captured. They would also be angry. They would panic when there's something that's bad happening to them, and they would be desperate to reach their loved ones who they miss.
Oh, so we got a quote by Lee Clark. The Korean War has also shown quite clearly that in a major conflict, when power is important as well as power. Alright, so I'll read the statistics and can't really see that, but we got like, oh shoot, it's really blurry. Okay, well, yeah, we just next slide.
Alright, in June 1950, Communist North Korea invaded South Korea. The United States came to the aid of South Korea at the head of the United Nations force composed of more than a dozen countries. Communist China joined North Korea in the war in November 1950, unleashing a massive ground attack against American forces. The Soviet Union also covertly supported North Korea. After 3 years of fighting, the war ended in a stalemate with the border between North and South Korea near where it had been at the war's beginning. This was the first hot war and Cold War, and in it, the United States demonstrated its continued commitment and containment.
Second World War, Korea was suddenly free and hoped to finally be able to decide the fate of their own country. Most Koreans campaigned for a unified state. However, the United States and the Soviet Union had different ideas. The Soviets wanted to expand the sphere of communist influence into Korea. The United States countered by encouraging the establishment of democracy. Additionally, the United States stressed the importance of containment, which is a foreign policy used to prevent the spread of communism. This disagreement would eventually lead to the Korean War. The Korean War was the first battle of the Cold War and first major proxy war fought between the United States and a Soviet communist-supported enemy. A proxy war occurs when one or more opposing powers instigates a war and then uses third parties to fight on their behalf. Other examples of proxy wars include the Vietnam War and the war in Afghanistan. At the Potsdam Conference in 1945, the Allies decided to split Korea into two parts of the 38th parallel. North Korea became a Soviet-supported communist regime under the leadership of Kim Il-sung. South Korea became a U.S.-supported democratic state under Syngman Rhee. After the division of Korea, Kim Il-sung looked to unify the nation. He garnered support from the Soviet Union and China to launch an invasion in South Korea and remove those who supported Syngman Rhee's appearance of democracy. Armed with Soviet rifles and tanks, North Korea crossed the 38th parallel on June 25, 1950. The war was underway. President Harry Truman viewed the situation as more than just a war between two nations. He feared the North Korean strike was the first step in an international communist takeover led by the Soviet Union. In response, Truman cited a 1950 national security report known as NSC 68, which called for military force to contain communism. The president and other top officials saw the conflict as an opportunity to declare war against communism. Therefore, with support from the United Nations, the United States moved to establish peace and remove the communist invaders from South Korea.
Okay, so the economic impact in America. The Korean War boosted GDP growth of government spending, which in turn constrained investment. The war in Korea greatly hindered American economic mobilization, cultural and investment community growth. Oh, so Moon Jae-in, we can't afford to lose all that we've built from the ashes of the Korean War.
Effects. There were several casualties on both sides. Through the exact figure is unknown. The Korean War was friction between the United States and the Soviet Union. War made the United States truly aware of the falling domino effect of communism. South Korea became an important U.S. military base with thousands of American troops stationed there. North Korea has carried out controversial nuclear tests and several ballistic missile tests, keeping South Korea prepared for the U.S., Hawaii, and China in their missile range.
Old soldiers never died, they just fade away. That was
Is it over?
Questions?
Questions?
And there questions for them?
Got one.
Audrey?
Wait, can you speak up? America was like the most important one that was. America was like the one that was fighting against the communism, and they supplied a lot of soldiers there with a lot of ammo and stuff. They supported South Korea a lot too.
Yes, can. Oh my God.
We did, but we couldn't really read it.
Well, you can't touch your elbow, so I can do it. You scared for mine? I did it. I do it. Just